Thank you everyone for attending. It's unfortunate I cannot see all of your faces, but we can make a little bit more of an introduction towards the middle or the end. So, hi Rania, how are you? Nice to see you. I see a couple of Zoom meetings under your name. Are they using the same account as yours? Okay, you're on mute. Okay, there we go. Teodora, hi Teodora. We see Yelena. We see Andre. And a few under the name of Rania. Hi, everybody. All right, so we'll do more of an introduction in a short while, but just to give you a short introduction on myself. So welcome to the seminar on a holistic approach to managing stress and anxiety. My name is Soniyaa Kiran, and I'm the founder of Illuminations, a holistic healing and well-being platform based in the UAE. We currently have 3 branches in the UAE, which is in Mirdif, JLT, and Abu Dhabi. And the goal of Illuminations is very simple. The goal of Illuminations is to help people live happier, healthier, and more purposeful lives. And we do that by helping people to understand that if you want to see a change around you, you have to change what's going on within you. And it's as simple as that. And we provide a lot of different holistic healing modalities, seminars, complimentary webinars, training programs, private consultations to help people to achieve this one simple goal. So the idea is that people are so focused on the external that unless and until we're faced with a crisis in our lives, it is not very often that many people take the space and opportunity to reconnect back to who they really are and what truly makes them happy. So today I provide you with a very small opportunity to be able to spend some time to just reconnect back to you, to your potential, to everything that's going on in your space, and hopefully provide you with a lot of value that can help you learn to manage your thoughts, emotions, and energies in a more productive manner that works for you. So to begin this seminar on understanding stress and anxiety. Stress and anxiety all arises from the way we think, right? But where does stress come from? So just to give you a bit of a background, as human beings, when man was as primitive as the animal, man was based on his instinct. He operated out of his instinct. So he did what he wanted, when he wanted to, where he wanted to. Man was as primitive as the animal. With the passage of time, man develops the creative process or ability to think. And what's the first thing that man thinks about? The first thing that man thinks about is survival, right? Survival against the animal and with nature. So man starts to think and he starts to develop rules for living. So man says, if I eat here, I sleep here, and I waste here, with all animals, they go by smell, right? So this will confuse the animal and it will increase my chances of survival. This is exactly how the modern day home has been designed. We eat somewhere, we sleep somewhere, and we waste somewhere else. Then man starts to think, if I'm alone and there is a natural disaster or if an animal comes to attack me, I will not be able to survive. So in order to increase my chances, it's of prime importance that I am in numbers. So that is how we have procreation. You have male and female. You're part of a community. You're part of a society. And together, the idea is to increase your chances of survival. And that's exactly how the modern day community is designed. But what happens is that man is no longer operating out of his instinct. He is now operating based on the rules that he has developed, rules that he has created in the mind in order to increase his chances of survival. Now, when this happens, all right, the more rules we create in our life, the more processes we have to follow. And the more processes that we follow, the more of like the inhibitions that develop within us. The more we have like inhibitions, the more we internalize them. So let's just say, for example, if I needed to use the restroom and I'm in a class, right? Now, because we've developed rules based on a community, based on ethics, based on integrity, there are certain things that we can and cannot do, right? So the more rules we create in our mind, the more processes we have to follow. So if I needed to go use the restroom, I wouldn't just waste there and then. I would excuse myself, I would wait till there's a break, and then I would go use the restroom. But the need to use the restroom is coming right then and there. So what happens? I suppress this need. And this is with everything in our life. We have thoughts, okay? The more we suppress our thoughts, the more we internalize them. The more we internalize our thoughts without releasing them appropriately, the greater the ability to be able to have a breakdown in the body. That's why a lot of doctors estimate that a large amount of dis-ease that we experience in our thoughts, okay, or stress, eventually takes a toll in our body, okay? And then you say you have your issues that you store in your tissues. So this comes from the idea, the more we suppress our thoughts, the greater the breakdown we have in the body. However, man has the ability or has the inbuilt mechanism to survive, okay? And in order for us to survive, we have inherited from the animal what we call the fight-flight mechanism, right? And the fight-flight mechanism is the way we operate or the way we react when we have a crisis, okay? So in some situations we fight, and in other situations we fly. The body itself is designed or has an inbuilt mechanism to protect you. So for example, if it sees anything as a threat, the body's fight-flight will kick in and it will try to activate a process called the autonomic nervous. The autonomic nervous has what you call the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So when you are faced with crisis, the sympathetic will get triggered, and now what happens to the body? The body will create the adrenaline, right? The hormones. All of this will go on overdrive in order for you to run the fastest race of your life. Your breathing becomes heavier, right? A lot of your stressors start to kick in order to protect you. However, in modern day, we are faced with many crises. And neither of these crises are really a threat to our survival. But the mind does not know the difference between what's a real crisis and what we perceive as a potential crisis. And this is how stress takes its toll on our body and eventually ends up creating dis-ease in our life. So it's important to understand how stress truly tries to originate from the body and how we respond to danger. So you have the fight-flight, you have the sympathetic, and you have the parasympathetic. And the job of the parasympathetic is to bring you back into balance. Now, we understand how stress is generated. So the importance is that when we are faced with stress, we need to release it appropriately. In 2003, there was a Japanese management study that was done, right? Where the Japanese, they truly understood that when we carry a lot of stress, it takes away our productivity. It is noted that when we do not deal with our stress appropriately, it actually takes away 72 hours of productive work that could have been done. So what the Japanese did is they took an experiment, because in South Asian cultures, to speak against a higher authority was a sign of disrespect. So if an employee had an issue with the boss, what would they do? They would suppress those issues. So what they did is that the Japanese the higher management took out cutouts of the boss, and they put them on bamboo sticks in near the basement with a punching bag. And they allowed the employees to vent out any stress they had like against the boss, so that they would not take the stress back home and then again create more conflict. So the idea is that we need to release stress at its level without truly allowing the stress to build up in our lives, right? Because once the stress takes a toll in our lives, we are not able to truly achieve the happiness, the contentment, the peace of mind, and the balance that we're all seeking. Now, we are all on a quest to be happy, to be more at peace, to be more content, and to be more in balance. And we seek for this happiness from our career, right? So some people get a lot of value from having an amazing job, And others, they seek their value from the financial success, from the clothes they wear, from the cars they drive. And then you have others who seek their value or their self-worth from relationships. And you have others who seek their value from being healthy, from running that 10K marathon. The problem is that we seek our value from everything outside of us, all right? But what we understand with life and with the pandemic and with the coronavirus, that life is very turbulent and temporary in nature. Everything that we seek from outside has the potential to go up, but also go down, right? So for example, we live in a world of duality. You have hot, you have cold. You have right, you have wrong. You have good, you have bad. You have pleasure, but you also have pain. And what happens is that when these things are taken away from us, or when our peace of mind is threatened because we don't have these things that we attach so much value towards, we end up feeling completely disillusioned, okay? And this ends up creating more stress in our space. So either you're going through any job pressure or job losses, either money or financial insecurity is being threatened, health, relationships, etc., media, all of these things on top of everything else will add to the stress that we're constantly faced with. We then start to ask questions such as, why is this happening to me? You know, how can this happen to me? But more importantly, rather than asking, why is this happening to me? Perhaps the right question to be asking is, what am I learning from this, right? So at Illuminations, we believe that every single opportunity in your life is a learning opportunity for your growth and evolution. Because we can't control what's going on outside of us. We only have the power to control how we respond to our environment. And that has a huge impact on our experience of life. Your life experience is not so much dependent on the outer, but much more on the inner. For example, there was a study done on what contributed to the factors of happiness. And it was, after a lot of research, it was found that what contributed to happiness was not our circumstance. Our circumstance was only 10% of what contributed to our happiness. Around more than 40% of our happiness is contributed by the way we think, what we believe, and your inner psychology. So at Illuminations, because we can't really control what's going on around us, we provide tools and techniques to help people change what's going on in their inner psychology. And as a byproduct, your outer world completely is based on a reflection of your inner self. In this pandemic, you'll have 20 people, right? You'll have 10 people who'll tell you the pandemic was the worst experience. I've lost everything. My anxiety has hit the roof. Things have not really worked in my favor. I've lost my job, etc., etc. But you have the other 10 people who might have also lost their jobs, who might have also been going through tough times, but they will say, the quarantine is providing me with the opportunity to learn a new skill. Maybe this happened because I needed to remove myself out of my comfort zone. Maybe I needed to spend more time with my family. Maybe this was pushing me towards my passion, which I wasn't really, focusing on, that much. So again, how we perceive an experience in our life largely depends on what's going on within your inner self, all right? And all of this starts with the way your mind works, right? All of us have a wavering mind, right? So the moment you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about your to-do list, you're thinking about what you're going to do for the future, you're thinking about what happened in the past. We're always living in a cycle of either the past or the future, but we're rarely living in the present. And when we go through these millions of thoughts that run throughout our minds, and obviously then start to worry about things which might have happened and things which might have not even happened yet, the mind tends to become very wavered. And what happens is that when we're on a wavering mind, we don't have the clarity or the clearing to be able to think productively and proactively. So no wise choice was ever made out of fear or anxiety. All right? But one thing that we all really need to understand is that no matter how wavering your mind is right now, depending on whether you're thinking about your past or your future or what's going to happen, we all have the power to access the peace and presence and stillness that lies within us. I'm not sure if many of you have been on a diving experience, but you'll know that, for example, no matter how choppy the waters are, the moment you dive deep into the depths of the ocean, you can experience that stillness. And that stillness, no matter what's going on in the outer world, our job is to help people dive deep down into their own mind to that space of peace and stillness and presence which actually lies within them. So a lot of people don't really access what's going on within their inner self, right? You have gifted resources. So when we say change your inner psychology, what do we mean by changing your inner psychology? We mean by changing what's going on in your mind, in your energy, your emotions, and obviously in your body. So when you meet a person, you meet them on the level of the body. You can touch them, you can see them, you can quantify them, you can qualify them. They have a body, they have an appearance, they have a smell, they have everything, right? But there's so many factors which contribute to who we really are, which are not as clear, right? So you have your energies, you have your emotions, and you have your mind. Now you are gifted with these resources, but the idea is to understand the potential these resources have. Many of us really don't truly understand the potential of our mind, our energy, and our emotions in order to be able to maximize them and allow these powerful gifted resources to contribute to enhancing our lives. Most of the time, we use the mind, like to work, either like working, that works in conflict with us. But the idea is to allow the mind to work for us, right? So how does the mind work? So let's go on to understanding what's going on in your inner space at this point. So at every given level, each one of us has thoughts, right? Thoughts are the root of your creation. Everything in your life was first a thought. So for example, even the light that you experience was first a thought in Sir Thomas Edison's mind to invent the light bulb, right? So every thought you have generates like an emotion that you feel. So for example, if you think about your family, you might think of love or joy. If you think about work, you might think of anger or pain. So every thought that you have will generate an emotion that you feel inside of you, okay? Every emotion that you feel inside of you will influence your energy levels. Now, these energy levels, if many of you would have heard of the chakras or the aura, right? So the way you think and the way you feel will change your aura depending on how you think and how you feel. Now, these chakras and these auras are correlated directly above the glands of the body, right? So these glands release hormones. So now on a daily basis, let's just say you wake up in the morning feeling really good about yourself, you're feeling happy, you're feeling joyful, your energy levels are high, you feel good. So you have the strength and the motivation to go to that gym class or to exercise or to meditate or to cook, right? So your thoughts are well, your emotions are well, your energies are high, and your body feels good as well. But let's just say you get a sudden phone call that either you've lost your job or either a loved one is ill, right? What happens to your thoughts? Right away, your thoughts are reversed, right? So the thought is something bad is going to happen. What is the emotion? The emotion is fear. You constantly harbor that feelings of those emotions of fear, anxiety, worry, stress, da 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 da. What do you think is going to eventually happen to your energy levels? The energy levels that you had, which were soaring high, all of a sudden have completely slipped. And eventually, if you don't resolve these emotions, eventually you'll start getting a headache. You'll start to feel these energies in your stomach, right? You'll start to feel these energies either for example, stress in your back, or you might get a cough, or you might have a skin rash. So this is how our mind directly affects our body on an ongoing basis through the power of the chain linking your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, and your body. Like I said earlier, doctors estimate that 90% of dis-ease that we experience in the body will originate from a thought process. Stress starts off as something which is in your thoughts. So it means it's something psychological. And if you don't deal with it appropriately, it ends up being something physiological, okay? Quantum physics, science, and doctors are now exploring the whole concept of how the mind affects and influences the body, right? So we understand that the mind has the power to influence the body, and a lot of research is being done on this. So if we can change the way we think, we can definitely change what's going on in the way we feel and also in our body. And that's exactly what we help you to do at Illuminations, right? So it's important to understand, right? If everything starts with a thought, where do thoughts come from? Naturally, we understand that thoughts come from our beliefs, and our beliefs come from our experiences. And the components of our thoughts, beliefs, and experiences come from the human mind. So the human mind is an interplay of our thoughts, our beliefs, and our experiences. And if we understand that if we can change our thoughts, then we have the power to change our life. And like I said earlier, if you want to change things around you, you have to start with changing what's within you, right? We all understand the power of the mind and its ability to move us to accelerating heights, right? So you would have probably seen on TV or in history that, you know, there was famous people that you might have heard where doctors told them that they could never walk again. And using the power of their mind, they broke the boundaries of limitation in their mind, and they were able to achieve the greatness that they wanted, right? But the mind also has the power to take you to the depths of your despair. We also have some of the most successful, some of the most worldly renowned people committing suicide. Why does that happen, right? If we understood logically that money or job or relationships or success or fame gives us happiness, then why is it that very renownedly successful people who have all of these things are actually committing suicide? And they're doing that because their mind is working against them. So whilst the mind has the power to move you to accelerating heights, it also has the power to bring you down to the depths of your own despair, okay? So if you want to understand how your mind is working for you, I want us all to do a very short and simple exercise, keeping in mind that everything that is in your outer world that you are experiencing right now, be it in your health, your career, or your relationships, and if you perceive them as negative, bad, or wrong, perhaps it's not actually the experience or the situation. Maybe it is your perception, right? And in order to understand our perceptions, I want us to all do a very quick exercise, all right? I want you to sit with your legs uncrossed, right? And I want you to have, take your back support on any chair, right? And sit very comfortably. You can place your hands on your lap, okay? Right? So give everybody a second to do that. And now, I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to take 3 deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose and inhale positive energy. And breathe out through your mouth and exhale any negative energy. 3 times. And once you've done that, I want you to continue with normal breathing, with your eyes closed. And as you continue with normal breathing, with your eyes closed, I now want you to just observe the different areas of your life. I want you to start with your eyes closed and imagine and think about your relationships with your family, your relationships with your friends, and your relationships with your colleagues. And just note, are these relationships happy? Or is there a lot of conflict? Are you facing any difficulty or hardships with anyone in your life? Do you find it easy to forgive and let go? Or are you holding on to anger? Make a mental note of how your relationships in your life are working for you. I now want you to pay attention to your career. Are you going through a difficult time? Are you facing any challenges? Do you love what you do? And do you feel you're making a contribution? Is your work allowing you to achieve your life goals? Just pay attention. And now focus on your health. Do you wake up every morning feeling energetic and alive? Do you get sick often? Do you practice self-care on a daily basis with what you eat, with your exercise? Just pay attention to your relationship with your body. Now just make a mental note. If there is disharmony or any area in your life that you're not happy with. You may now open your eyes. All right. So we did this exercise as a simple check-in, right? Very often, like I said earlier, we're always seeking for, things outside in our life to change in order for us to be happy. But what if I told you that perhaps you are responsible for creating these experiences, right? So life isn't happening to you, but rather you are creating your experience through the power of your mind. And if you are creating experiences in your life that you're not happy with or that you wish to change, the first step is to take responsibility that you have created it. Because only when you have the power to create it, do you have the power to uncreate it and actually recreate the life that you want. Because till you feel you don't take responsibility of what you've created, change can never happen. Change can only happen when you decide that you have created it and you wish to create a new story, right? And a large part of this has to do with how your mind is working for you, right? So we're going to go a little more deeper into the mind in a short while, but just to highlight the power of our thoughts and how these thoughts can influence our reality, be it in our health, career, or relationships, I want to introduce you to an experiment. I don't know if many of you know, there was a Japanese scientist by the name of Dr. Emoto. And Dr. Emoto conducted something called the rice experiment. And the rice experiment highlights the power of positive thinking, or the power of nurturing ourselves. So what he did was he took 3 jars of rice, and in one jar, right, he wrote, "You're an idiot." The other jar, he wrote, "Thank you." And the third jar, he decided that he's going to ignore this. So every day for 3 weeks, he would say to one jar of rice, "You're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot," right? And to the other jar, he said, "Thank you." He expressed gratitude. He gave a lot of love and nurturing energy. And in the third, he didn't do anything. He just completely ignored it. After 3 weeks, when he came back, he noticed that in the first jar of rice where he said, "You're an idiot," the jar of rice completely rotted. And same with the one that was ignored. But the jar of rice where he expressed gratitude and feelings of positivity, and he sent a lot of positive vibrations, that rice, was not spoiled at all. It was completely in its normal condition. And from this experiment, we can understand that how we treat the world, or how the reflection of our world, has a lot to do with how we kind of treat ourselves, right? So the first thing is to really focus back on the relationship that we have with ourselves, because the relationship that we have with ourselves is going to be the foundation of the relationship that we have with money, with our career, with our relationships. The foundation begins with the self. And if we can learn to understand and care for ourselves and spend more time with ourselves and really building a strong relationship, then only that becomes the second step towards change. The first step is, number 1, taking full responsibility. Number 2 is, once we take full responsibility, we have to learn to care for our thoughts. We have to care for our emotions, because if we don't do that, we'll end up exactly, with the stress and with this anxiety. The inside part of us is going to start deteriorating if we don't pay attention to that. And, this does not call for a complete, okay, I got to go to an ashram, or I have to go on the mountaintop and meditate, or I have to do 1 million workshops, or it just calls for taking out a little bit of time on a daily basis to spend those few moments in the day like you would, for example, to maintain your body, right? We do so much to maintain our body. We take showers every day. So I was asked, in fact, last week, Soniyaa, I have a really busy schedule. Like, how can I find the motivation to practice meditation, or to, to take care of myself? And I said, well, what's the motivation to take a shower? The motivation to take a shower, obviously, is because if we don't take a shower, we end up feeling dirty, right? So in the same way, we end up, not maintaining ourselves. Exactly what we have to do on the inside. When we start taking care of our mind, of our emotions and our energy, we can then show up as the best version of ourselves. Otherwise, it's really impossible to do. So again, like I said, it all starts from the mind, and the mind has the power to change your reality. And again, all of this happens through our thoughts, our beliefs, our experiences, which are largely stored in the mind. So let me briefly run through with you how the mind actually works, right? Because most people talk about the mind. What is the mind actually? Most people confuse the mind and the brain. So we put it this way. If the brain is the hardware, the mind then in turn becomes the software, right? So for example, the thought of moving your hand will first arise in your mind. The mind will then send the signal to the brain. The brain will then compute how many nerves, how much energy, how much oxygen is required in order to make the hand moving a reality. So the mind is always the king, right? So like what exactly is this mind? So we believe at the highest level of clairvoyance, the mind is like a vibrating ball of energy located all around you, at the center of which is the pit of your stomach. So you know when you've heard that term gut feeling. So I have a gut feeling it's going to rain in Dubai tomorrow. What is the gut in itself? The gut is simply an organ to help you digest food. But the reason we say gut, right, is because the first sense of knowing will arise in the gut area. So in the Harvard 2003 Lancet journal, there was a study done calling a second brain in the gut area. So we term this as the mind, all right? So the mind has two parts. The mind has your conscious and your subconscious. The conscious is around 10 to 12% of our mind capacity. On an everyday ongoing basis, everybody has a functioning conscious mind, right? This is where you store your intellect, where you can make logical decisions about your life. But that is only 10 to 12% of our mind. And we are at any given time only using this 10%. So then what is the rest of the 88 to 90% doing? The rest of the 88 to 90% is what we call the subconscious mind. And the job of the subconscious mind is the collector and storage of all the experiences in your life. So from the day you were born to the mother's hospital bed to your first birthday, everything is stored in the mind. Now you may say, Soniyaa, I don't remember what happened to me when I was 1 year old. You might not have the ability to remember, right? Or recall on the conscious mind. So nobody suffers from poor memory, right? They suffer from lack of ability to recall on the conscious mind. But your subconscious mind still has a memory of that experience, okay? And all of the painful incidents in your past, all of the happy incidents in your past are all stored in the mind. Now, like I said earlier, the job of the subconscious mind is to keep you alive. Now, whenever it perceives danger, it will develop fear as a defense mechanism to protect you so that you don't put yourself in a threatening scenario again. Let me give you an example. So let's just say at the age of 2 years old, you were bit by a dog, right? Now you had to go to the hospital, you had to get a lot of injections, you couldn't go out and play with your friends, it hurt. So your experience in your subconscious mind is dogs are harmful, or it was an experience of pain. Your belief stored an experience that dogs are bad, right? Now let's just say you're 12 years old and you're at a park and all your friends are playing with the dog, but something inside of you develops this feeling or this anxiety, right? And no matter how logical it is that this dog might not bite you, for some reason, you just want to run away from that dog. So what happens here? This is where the subconscious mind is telling you, hey, the last time you experienced dogs, it was a very painful experience for you. You got bit, so be careful. This dog might bite you as well. But we all know on the intellect, just because one dog bit us when we were 5 years old, it doesn't mean that the same dog as all dogs are bad. But the subconscious mind doesn't think that way. The subconscious mind is very sticky in nature. It tends to hold on to one experience, attach itself to those experiences, and starts to define you by those experiences. And then it will label those experiences, judge them as a means to protect you. So the mind is actually working perfectly. It's doing its job. But the problem is that it keeps you in the illusion, right? It keeps you in the illusion based on your past experiences. That's why a large part of who we are, your stress, your fear, your anxiety, is not actually coming from present life problems. It's coming from past experiences. And your anxiety is because you went through bad experiences in the past. You want to avoid them at all possible costs in the future because you don't want those bad experiences to happen again. Fear and anxiety is a way of protecting you and keeping you in control. So you are using this overthinking, this anxiety, this fear as a means to protect you and as a coping mechanism to keep you in control. But all we know is that all this fear and anxiety does is it limits your experience of life. So once you understand how your mind is actually working, always taking you back in the past and always taking you to a future event that has not even happened, it takes away from the peace of the present moment. Okay? And this is something that we need to consciously step out of. And how do we do that? Well, a large part of how we do that is by healing our past experiences and keeping ourselves as much to remain in the present moment. Because the mind will always try and trick you to remain in anything but the present. And this is the start of all your problems of stress and anxiety, in short, in summary. Okay? So one of the things that we need to firstly understand, so like I said earlier, number one is taking full responsibility that you have created it, right? Number two is obviously now that you have created it, you have to understand that you have the power to change it. And when you have the power to change it by taking full responsibility, you realize you have, the space and opportunity to reconnect back with who you really are by first taking that step to caring for yourself. And when you do that, the third part of it comes in changing your perception, right? Changing your perception to how you view experiences of life. And changing your perception is very simple, right? So if we can view, many times when we go through positive experiences, we judge them. Oh, this experience was amazing, right? And we want to get stuck on a positive experience. But we know that life is turbulent and temporary. Nothing is forever, and change is the only constant. So if change is the only constant, and if we get stuck onto good experiences, we want to avoid bad experiences. So if we're constantly labeling and judging our experiences as either good and bad, we're always going to be stuck trying to attach ourselves to the good and always trying to get worried and fearful of the bad. But if we view life from a very neutral perspective as an observer, right? So we understand that our life is like a train, right? And each stop in the train will take us to a different station. And in one station, you have experiences of happiness and joy when you see your child born, or when you get that new job, or when you get the love of your life. And there will be other stations that you're going to get off on where you've experienced loss, where you've experienced, sadness, where you've experienced any painful emotions. Pain and pleasure are simply different stops in the journey of life. They're not actually, anything to attach ourselves to, right? So I'm sure all of you would have heard the concept, this too shall pass. The train will actually pass and get off at the next stop very shortly. But if we start to constantly attach ourselves to the good and try to get scared of the bad, we're no longer becoming the neutral observer to our life. So, you'll see in a lot of philosophy, you'll see in a lot of cultures how they talk about being the observer, being neutral. It's simply to stop judging and labeling our experiences and simply viewing every experience for the purpose of our growth and evolution, right? If we can see every experience for the purpose of our growth and evolution, you'll always come out of life a winner, regardless of whether you've lost your job, or regardless of whether a loved one has left you, or any situation, right? You might experience a lot of pain as emotions in the interim, but you will not allow that pain or to lead into suffering, because pain is inevitable, guys. You're a human being and you're packaged with emotions, but suffering is always, always a choice, right? So it's about a perspective change where we can start to observe our experiences, okay, as simply experiences for the purpose of our growth and evolution, neither right, neither wrong, neither good, and neither bad, right? That's number one. Number two is really training your mind and your brain to remain in the present moment. Now we use, I'm sure a lot of you would have heard of a powerful tool called mindfulness. So mindfulness is training your mind and your brain and your emotions to be in the here and the now, right? That's the quickest way to move out of your fear and anxiety. So a lot of studies and research has been done on mindfulness, where mindfulness can help you lower your brainwave cycles in order to come to that space of being still. Like I said earlier, no matter how wavering the mind is, you always have access to the space of stillness that lies within you. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take you through a bit of a mindfulness technique, right? But before that, before we start this mindfulness practice, what I'm first going to do is I'm going to, ask you all to firstly remain grounded. Okay, so we're going to do a quick grounding exercise, and I'm going to share the presentation with you, and I'll share the notes with you so you guys will have the full practice, so you don't need to write anything down right now. But like I said, the first way to bypass this mind of past and future and fear and anxiety and worry is to train the mind and the brain to remain in the present, right? And this is like scientifically proven, okay? The first step as a foundation to mindfulness is being grounded, okay? That's the first step as a foundation. So we do this grounding exercise like the other day, I posted on my Instagram, right? The more grounded you are, the higher you could fly, right? So flying starts from the ground. You don't fly, you guys are Emirates, you've flown like all over the world, I'm sure. Flying starts from the ground. You can't fly high if you're not grounded. And what do I mean by grounded? Grounded means being in the here, being rooted in your existence, being in the here and the now. So many times, even when you wake up in the morning, the reason you guys have anxiety or stress is because you're always thinking about, what's going to happen, what I'm going to do today, what I'm going to do tomorrow, what's going to happen. You're overloading your mind, and your mind is no longer, in you. It's like your energy and your consciousness is not in your body. It's in your mind, right? And the mind is always scattered in the here and now. So the idea is to bring your energy back in the here and the now. And this is a very quick, very, very simple technique, is by grounding yourself. And how do you do that? So first thing, I want you to sit very comfortably on the chair, right? And now I want you guys to just relax, keep your eyes open. Okay, I'm going to tell you when to close your eyes. And now I just want you to make a mental note of 5 things that you see around you, okay? Make a mental note. So for me, I see this tissue box. I see this salt lamp. I see this water bottle. Just make a mental note. You don't have to touch it, all right? So 5 things you can see. Right? So now when you've made a mental note of 5 things you can see, I now want you to make a mental note of 4 things you can touch. Are we okay, guys? Yeah. So 5 things you can see and 4 things you can touch. So I can touch the desk, I can touch my chair, I can touch my pants, okay? Now I want you to close your eyes and focus on 3 sounds that you can hear. The traffic on the street, the white noise, the air condition, the sounds in the background, my voice. And with your eyes closed, I want you to focus on 2 things that you can taste in your mouth. And finally, I want you to focus on 1 thing that you can smell. Pay attention to the 1 thing that you can smell. Okay, guys. So that's the first step in grounding, okay? So if you're feeling anxious and worried, nervous, whatever, I just want you to sit down, okay, wherever you stand, like wherever you are, and seat yourself on any chair or back support, and just focus on 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things with your eyes closed that you can hear, 2 things that you can taste, and 1 thing that you can smell, right? This is the first step to any meditation experience. Okay, number 1 is your grounding exercise, okay? Number two, the second thing is breathing, right? So when you've done your grounding exercise, I want you to now focus on a breathing technique. Now, some of you who do yoga, often you can use a breathing technique that best suits you best, but I'm going to make it very simple. I'm going to ask you to close your mouth, and I'm going to ask you to breathe in through your nose for 5 counts, and breathe out through your nose with your mouth closed for 5 counts. That's it. I'm going to keep it simple, right? So we're going to do this for 5 rounds. I'm going to lead you to it. So close your eyes, and I want everyone to breathe in through their nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and breathe out through the nose, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in through the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out through the nose, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in through the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out through the nose, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in through the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out through the nose, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in through the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out through the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So keep your eyes closed. And now I want you to focus on normal breathing. And I want you to now pay attention to your breath moving very gently in and out of your nostrils. Breathe in. And out with normal breathing. All right. Now I want you to focus your attention and your awareness for a few moments on your breathing. Now, whenever your mind wanders away from your breathing, I want you to very slowly and very gently bring your awareness back to your breathing. Now, for many of you, your mind and your thoughts will be wavering. It'll be scattered. You'll find it difficult to focus on my voice or remain in the present moment. All right? Now, I don't want you to try and force your thoughts or stop your thoughts. Now, with your eyes closed, if at all your mind wanders away, I want you to pay attention to where your mind is wandering. Okay? Make a mental note of it. So for example, if my eyes are closed and if I'm focusing on my breathing and my mind starts to think of my task list, I make a mental note of my task list. I tell my task list that I will come back to you. And this time I'll pay attention to where my mind is taking me. And I will say the word in my mind, present. And that will automatically bring me back to the awareness of my breathing. Okay, so I don't want you to stop your thoughts. I want you to start paying attention to where your thoughts are taking you. So keep your eyes closed. and focus your attention on the tip of your nostrils with normal breathing. Keep your awareness and your attention on your breath. And if at any given point your mind wanders away from your breath, make a mental note of it. Tell that part of you that you're going to come back. Say the word present and bring yourself back into the focus and awareness of your breathing. So we're going to continue this exercise for a few more minutes. Present. Remind yourself to be present and bring your awareness and attention back to your breathing. This is the first step to training your mind and your brain to remaining in the present moment. Okay? Now with your eyes closed, I want you to now go one step deeper and focus on the sensations on the top of your head. And I want you to start from the top of your head, and I'll lead you through this, down to the tip of your toes. And I want you to actively relax every part of your body. Any part of your body that's tight or holding on to any stress, any anxiety, I want you to tell that part of your body to relax and feel the light and the weightlessness that's entering your space. Okay, so starting from the top of your head with your eyes closed, relax your head. Pay attention to the sensations in your forehead, your temple. Relax and loosen the temples, the nerves around the head. You might notice a heaviness. Feel now this tension slowly lifting away as you relax your neck. Feel the sensations relaxing your jaw muscles. Your jaw muscles are very light, very loose. Relax your facial muscles till your facial muscles feel very light, very loose. Now relax your shoulders. Pay attention to any stress, any tension, any tightness that you're carrying on your shoulders. Relax your shoulders. Now focus on your chest. Relax your chest, your stomach. Relax your hands. Feel a sense of lightness. Relax your abdomen. Relax your hips. Relax your thighs, your knees, your legs. Completely relax the soles of your feet. And now once again, when your physical body is completely relaxed, I want you to focus on the awareness and sensations on your breathing at the tip of your nostrils. Normal breathing. If you still feel ungrounded, I want you to pay attention to the sounds around you. Pay attention to how many sounds that you can hear in the background. Tune into the stillness. And whenever your mind wanders away from the stillness, just use the word present in your mind and bring your awareness back to the present. All right. Whenever you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes. And now we're going to start with a little bit of sharing. So we have firstly Theodora. Hi, Theodora. If you can just unmute yourself and give us a wave and tell us if you'd like to share your experience. Theodora, can you hear us? Okay. Anybody would like to share before I continue? Hello?
Okay, I can share. I can share.
Sure.
So my experience after this exercise is that, you know, I really was like thinking about so many things. My brain was racing. I have so many things to do today. And yeah, I mean, it's very grounding when I kept telling myself present and I go back into like focusing on my breathing and just like living the moment. I feel now calm. I feel like that fogginess that I had in my brain is gone, you know, like there's much more clarity.
Correct. Yeah, because you see, Rani, so I mean, the whole idea is that the body does not feel safe to be present. It feels like it always needs to be on a defense mode, right? So we're actually human beings, but we're more like human doings, right? We're always doing. We always feel that only with action can we, get everything we want. And that's actually not true, right? So there's a time to do and a time to be. So we've mastered the art of doing, but we haven't mastered the art of being. So this mindfulness approach is a method of active relaxation, which can actually bring down the fight flight, because we're constantly on overdrive, we're constantly on stress. So this is known to actually bring down your cortisol levels when you are actually not operating out of the fight flight, because there's nothing to be threatened of. There's nothing to fight for. You know, your survival is not in question here, but the body doesn't know that. So we have to use these practices to actively tell our body it is safe to relax. It's safe to be, you know, and that's exactly part of what I was saying earlier, is part of caring for yourself, you know, being kind to yourself. Like, no wise choice was ever made out of fear. You know, nobody actually really achieved anything by, you know, having clutter. So all of this does is, you know, and you don't have to spend hours doing this. Like, it took us, what, 10 minutes? But it is so important for you to just kind of cleanse your thought processes, you know, to remain in a space of clarity. And this is scientifically proven, because if you continue this practice, you will get into a space of complete stillness. And you just kind of want to remain there like a little child who's in a bed, and, you know, like who's in a blanket in a cot. Like, you just want to remain there for a while, because that allows you to access, you know, a higher source, like how to cleanse your space in order for you to take in more. The problem is that our vessel is so full that we have no outlet to be able to release, like I explained earlier. When we don't release, we overspill. And we overspill in the form of anger, conflict with relationships, stress, all of this way, because the body needs to release these things. And if we don't release it appropriately, we're going to release it completely like unproductively, which will create more stress. Okay, so mindfulness is just one of the first approaches that I literally swear by, because this is something I actually do on a daily basis, because, you know, as an entrepreneur, I have so much going on all the time, and I feel like you just need that space of clarity and stillness to be able to take in more, you know, and that's probably one of the first and most important practices that is the basis for everything else. Okay, so mindfulness, I mean, I don't have too much time here, but, you know, we teach a lot of complimentary courses at Illuminations, which is you can find online. If you go to the events page of illuminations.ae, you'll see 100 different type of topics that we offer, these type of programs, and it's absolutely free. You can log on to actually explore these concepts in detail. But because I only had an hour with you, I just kind of wanted to give you a few takeaways and a little bit of the approach that we teach at Illuminations, you know, to help you kind of manage your stress and anxiety, because you can't stop stress, right? You can't stop life from happening. There are going to be incidents where we experience loss, but a large part of how our experience will be defined is by what's going on inside of us. So today, you know, I just wanted to give you a very quick and brief opportunity to, you know, give you like a little bit of insight. And I hope, you know, we don't have too much time here, but I hope I was able to provide value. I will send you some breathing exercises. I will send you the process that we kind of went through, the grounding and this whole mindfulness by not stopping your thoughts, right? The idea is not, because the more what you resist will persist. So if I tell you guys, don't think of a red box, the first thing you're going to think of is a red box, right? So the mind has the power to provide you amazing insight into your life, right? It tells you which areas of your life need you to pay attention. So for example, if I'm closing my eyes and I'm thinking about a relationship, it means that something in my relationship needs attention. So all I'm telling my mind is, I will come back to you. I make a mental note of it. And again, very gently, like a loving child, like a child goes and plays with, you know, a gadget that they're not supposed to play with. And you slowly, very gently rattle the child and say present and bring it back very lovingly, you know, with no force, with complete empathy. Okay, because as the more empathetic you are with yourself, this empathy will reflect in every area of your life as well. All right, so I'd love for anyone to share or ask any questions, or if you need any more clarity on anything, I'd love to, you know, answer anything that you have to share. Anybody else? We have Alice, Fazia, Fatima, anybody? All right. Okay, great then. All right, so with no more questions, I will officially end the seminar right now. Thank you very much for your time and your patience and your sharing, for those of you who did. Should you guys need any more information, I'll send you my personal contact details. We'll send you the presentation. We'll also send you a recording of today's seminar so you can practice in your own space, which I truly encourage you all to do. And yeah, and please do reach out to us should you need anything. And like I said, we have a lot of complimentary webinars happening online that you can avail whenever you feel the need to. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
So
really appreciate it. Great job. Great job, Soniyaa.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.